Welcome to the MVP show. We're going down under to chat with Andre Margono, 5 times MVP, currently living in Melbourne, Australia, originally from Indonesia. Can I ask you to do me a favour? If you enjoy this show, please leave a comment on iTunes by going to nz365guy.com/iTunes. It'll take you right through to the iTunes player. For full show notes, visit nz365guy.com/59. Now let's get on with the show. There's a knife in my heart and a storm. Well, welcome to the MVP show. I'm here with Andre. Andre, welcome to the show.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Very good, very good. Probably not as warm as you are, being that I'm in London and you're in sunny Melbourne. But yeah, so how is it going down there?
Well, it's getting warm up here.
What projects have you been on recently? What are the big changes you're seeing in the industry?
Recently, I was working on in a law firm-based kind of project. So it's a lot of compliance, a lot of document generations that I need to process over there. It's basically, I would say, in the past we call it XRM, but these days we can call it like a Power Apps model-driven kind of projects.
Yeah. So what are you calling it? Are you calling it the Power Platform? Are you calling it CDS for apps? Or are you calling it Power Apps? It's kind of like 3 words, right, that are going to become quite interchangeable.
Yeah, it's different. I think because the project was initiated as Dynamics project, I call it Dynamics project, as in an extended version.
Very good. So I haven't heard that word using extended.
Well, it's basically from the XRM in the past, but I know it's CDS or it's Power Apps model driven. If you want to streamline it these days, it should be like Power Apps.
Well, a lot of the listeners might not know, but I've worked with you in the past and had the great pleasure of working with you on various projects around Melbourne and in Australia. But I know you didn't originally come from Melbourne. Can you tell me where you come from and a bit about how you ended up working in Australia?
I come from Indonesia, so I ended up in Australia just first is because of my master degree study, and I fall in love with Melbourne, and during my final year of the university, I started working as freelancer, working as a web developer, so picking up a few of the available freelance job and also do some voluntary work. So that's where I started and then I landed a proper full-time job as a web developer and at JTOM, and that was like almost 7-8 years ago. And that was my first introduction to Dynamics CRM version 4 at that time. So that's and then from there I really like to develop things on Dynamics, and then moving forward until now, moving to consulting, and love being in the consultant world as well.
Awesome. So tell me a bit about Indonesia. Were you kind of from Bali, were you? That's the only part I know of Indonesia.
Well, I'm from the island next to it. I'm from Java. So my city called Bandung. It's a bit cold over there. It's a mountainous area and sometimes heavy rain. But I think climate-wise, pretty much similar to Bali.
Have you been up into Ubud in Bali? It's like Ubud, I think, is the center of the island. Have you ever been there? Because it's kind of high rainfall. It's much more mountainous.
Yeah, it's pretty much like Ubud. So I really love Bali. I've been there, I think, plenty of times. A lot of scenery, a good scenery area. Like I think the place that you mentioned, Ubud, it's rice farm area. That's right. And mountainous, and it's really beautiful in the morning if you take a walk around there.
Yeah, I went and did a mountain bike ride. They took us to the top of the mountain, gave us mountain bikes and everything, and then we rode down through all like the paddy fields, all the way down the mountain, and amazing place. I loved it. It's for me, I find it's probably better than the the touristy type areas, on the coast to some degree. Yeah, it was such a great experience. Have you traveled much outside of Australia and Indonesia? Where else have you been?
I just recently went to Japan.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, it's just a different kind of story there. It's a different kind of experience. I think in Bali you might be mostly more relaxed over there. It's self-contained, one quite small island, I would say. So you can go everywhere, not really busy. Well, and when I was traveling to Japan, I need to take train from one place to another place, and the city was so crowded, but the experience is so different, the culture is so different, beautiful scenery.
So, did you mainly spend your time in Tokyo?
Yep, a few days in Tokyo, a few days in Osaka, and a few days in Kyoto.
Nice, nice, nice. So there's a photo of you online, and you look like you're in a dressing gown, a blue one, which is some Japanese. You've actually got beads on the front of you by the looks. What is that? Is that you're dressed in?
That's the traditional Japanese kimono that I hired over there, and just go through the shrine and take some pictures. That's really beautiful there.
Wow, wow, wow. That's so cool. As in, I was blown. Like I was in Japan in January this year, and just blew me away around the contrast of a very busy city, but then these like oases all the way through of their long culture. Just incredible. How did you find that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like they have a very strong culture over there, and I really appreciate on what they have, and I mean, like their culture, in and especially the people culture over there. They are very very diligent.
Very considerate as well of others, aren't they?
Yes, they're very polite. They're very nice to others as well.
Any type of food that you particularly like more than others, or that you experimented with in Japan?
Well, I tried, I think, almost everything.
Did you?
Yeah,
Did you have
like
raw chicken? Did you have any raw chicken?
I tried that.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's a lot of street foods over there. So that's the
Yeah.
experience. So that's the interesting part.
But like, man, we were brought up to never, ever, ever eat raw chicken, right? Because potential salmonella poisoning. But my wife went over there for work to Japan, and yeah, came back and told me that she'd eaten raw chicken as well. And I was just like, that's incredible that they can, there's not those health risks in the way they prepare it or something. Is it?
Yeah, must be the way they prepare and the way they treat the materials. I think they really really taking care of the health consideration very seriously.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so tell me about your family. You're married?
Yeah, I'm married and
Children?
just had a toddler now,
Wow, how old?
1.5.
Wow, and how's does she go to Japan with you?
Yeah, so that's the another challenge for us.
On the trains with an under 2-year-old.
Yeah.
So how has things changed now that you're a dad?
I need to juggle up between everything, between family, and when I need to take care of my daughter, and also for work. Sometimes work commitment. Sometimes you need to do overtime, and community work as well. Sometimes it's definitely outside of the work, so it's a bit harder. But so far so good. I think I manage
Good.
it.
You're not kept awake all night?
I hope so.
You hope so, or so you do get some sleep from time to time.
Well, that's the thing. Sleep is kind of precious these days.
Yes, so true, so true. So, how involved are you in the local community from a business application perspective around Melbourne? What's the Dynamics community like down there? What do you get up to, and what's your involvement?
So I've been the committee of Dynamics 365, or in the past it was called CRM user group. Probably one of the first from Melbourne. Thanks to you, Mark, that you set it up, and I can contribute there. That a place that we can call home for everyone from the committee right now. So it was like 4 or 5 years ago that you set it up, right? So yeah, that's my primary involvement in the community in Melbourne. So keep sometimes presenting and sometimes helping the other community finding presenters, reaching out to other people to present, as well as sometimes, well, my role in the past was the photographer. So I take photos and sometimes take a video of the attendee. Recently, I changed the role to the just one tip, so hopefully I can contribute more on that side.
I think that you would have more than one tip. You know, your experience is quite extensive now, you know, with working in dynamics for so long. I mean, how do you kind of choose the one thing to talk about rather, you know, when you've got, you know, you're so knowledgeable in so many different areas?
Sometimes when I would like to share on something, it's about the things that I experienced myself, and I think I took a step back and think that if I ever encounter this again, I might want to record it. That's where I either share it on user group or I blog it or just do something so that I can remember what I have done in the past to solve the problem and hopefully help others in solving their problem as well.
So how did you come about becoming an MVP? What was kind of the journey that you went on? Who nominated you? How did you kind of get into the MVP program? How long's it been? You give us a bit of that history.
So I started to become more active in the community probably around 2012-ish. I started with answering questions on forum. That's my very first contribution. The interesting part of answering questions in forum was you get so much exposure on other things that others encounter that you might haven't encountered before. So I learned a lot from that. I tried, someone encountered this problem. Let's see what I can do. I found the answer, and that helped me as well. Next time I encounter similar issue, I can help and myself on fixing that problem. And then I started blogging since then, and I joined the user group committee. I think after not long after the user group being a user group committee, I think at that time there was a TSP from Microsoft that knows me, and I think he nominated me, and I just received an email from the MVP award program that I've got being nominated. So they asked me to fill in some questions that I just provided to them, and probably 6 months later, I've got the magic email. I would say
the magic email. Yeah, so true. So, do you remember the TSP that nominated you?
I think he is no longer in Microsoft, so can't remember his name. I think he.
Oh, good. Interesting. So good. So, since that time, because I think you must have been one of the early on MVPs in Melbourne, but now there's like what, half a dozen MVPs down there. Is that right?
Probably, I think around 6 or so. Well, I'm probably not the first one. The first person I know in Melbourne was Ronald Lemon. Long time.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. He's back in Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, he's back in Amsterdam. He is the first person that I met in person as an MVP from Dynamics. So I met him in Melbourne long time, I think, when he was in Melbourne.
And so who are the MVPs that are there now?
Right now we have Eliza, we have Nadija, Natraj, Tiago.
Oh yeah, Diego. Yeah, how is he?
He's good.
Man, it's been a long time since I've seen him.
Yeah.
Is he doing well?
I think so.
Do you know, what was that?
I met him a couple of times in the user group. And we have Sahan.
Who's Sahan? I don't know that I know Sahan.
Sahan, he's from the XC. So he just
Yep.
recently
I've seen a photo of him.
Yeah, just recently got awarded, I think a couple of months ago. So most of us are the committee of the user group. So that's really, really a home for us, really a place that we can grow, we can share, we can become who we are. So really appreciate the presence of the user group in Australia.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good to hear. Tell me, do you get involved much in Dynamics 365 Saturdays?
Yep. So I would say the man behind Dynamics 365 Saturday in Australia are Nadija and Sahan, and I'm helping them with, I think, the others like Neil, Leon. We help this team to find presenters. So I was helping Nadija and helping setting up the Pepper Call. So it's a kind of open for speaker, call for speakers kind of microsite that we set up since 2017 and this year as well. So we have set up open for speaker through that website, and we get the speakers. Sometimes we also need to reach out manually to the persons because they might not see in the announcement or the blog post or any articles on LinkedIn. So we reach out to people sometimes manually as well.
That would enabled you to use all your old web design skills, right?
Well, luckily, that one, it doesn't need any kind of web design. It's pre-built web
Gotcha.
application.
So just configuring it.
Yep, configuring with the forms. It's basically a form-based capture application.
Nice. So tell me, kind of like, what's your area of specialty? If you look at, the Microsoft Business Application group of products is growing all the time, and where's your sweet spot? Do you sit more on the dev side, the functional, the architecture? Do you sit more in Dynamics first party apps like sales, marketing, these type of tooling, or are you more working now in the Power Platform and Power Apps and Flow and things like that?
I would say people sometimes put me as a jack of all trades. So I sort of across almost not all aspect of the business application platform, but my primary focus will be the CDS for apps, which is this XRM platform, or that we used to call it. Module wise, probably sales and service. I've been involved in a few of PSA implementation, which is difficult and challenging. Field service, I have just one project that I have done in the past, so still not an expert, but at least across Power Platform, Power Apps, did a lot of demos on it, and Flow as well. And my role is currently being the solution architect at Barhead, so that's give me a lot of exposure on different projects that I work on. So yeah, that's probably my specialty is across a lot of things.
Yeah. That's so good. Tell me about, are you seeing kind of customers in the projects that you're working on requesting things around like AI, artificial intelligence, and, we're seeing Microsoft release a lot of, AI for sales, AI for marketing. Are you kind of seeing a demand for that? Are you kind of developing your skill sets in the area of AI, cognitive services, any of these type of things?
So I think there is, I think they would say it's a want. So companies want something fancy, but sometimes when they juggle it up, once they see the value, sometimes they just want to get the core functionality out there first and then enhance the existing one using this advanced capability like AI. So I've been experimenting in the past with the cognitive service, chatbots, and actually the Azure machine learning as itself. And I found that it's quite interesting concept that if the level of maturity of an organization is quite high, so they are ready for it, it's really a big time saver for them if they implement this kind of smarts. And they can get more insight of the data that they have captured with the predictive analytics, things like that. So I see a point of when the level of organization is being mature, not just recently implemented Dynamics, but after they implement it for a while and they have captured some data and everything are stabilized, it's a real value to have it.
And what about have you done any work then in the the Microsoft social engagement side of things? Do you see that growing or changing at all?
Social engagement, not much. It's only to, well, in the past, I only implemented to capture the sentiment analysis. So in one of the project, they want to understand what is the sentiment of the public audience. So was for a government client in the past. And beyond that, they just want to have like the case, like someone tweeting something to their Twitter handler, and they want to sort of create a case management. That's the last thing that I've seen from the uh, social engagement. But beyond that, I haven't explored that much.
If you were going to coach somebody and recommend, what they would need to do, let's say you came across another consultant, an individual that you thought was MVP material. Okay, so you thought that what they're doing, their value they're adding the community as such. Kind of, how would you coach them down a path, to potentially becoming an MVP? What type of advice would you give them?
First is be yourself and be confident, because I would say every MVPs that I know, they are different. None are the same. They have their own specialty. They have their own way to do things. So just be yourself. Don't imitate anyone. I would say that the first thing that I would suggest, and focus on one thing first. Let's say you want to start blogging, right? Keep focused and get committed to do it. Or if you are focused in forum, just commit it at one, and then once you are in it, explore others, like yourself doing this podcast, like others doing vlog, like Eliza is doing vlog, and probably get involved in the user group definitely. So you get to know other people, get involved in the committee of the user group if possible, because from there you can get some networking. You can also have the ability to influence the community as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. So those are I think they're all great practical steps that one can take. One of the things I've found with talking with various people now from all over the world, and doing mentoring and coaching, things like that, is that oftentimes of people that with a second, their second language is English, they feel like that they can't contribute because they might not articulate everything perfectly, or their sentence structures might not be perfect. You're an example of somebody that's come from another country and kind of not let that hinder you. Kind of, yeah. What advice would you give to people that have that kind of fear that English is their second language?
You know me, and you listen to me right now. My English is not perfect. It's still sometimes you see that I sometimes still using a broken English. But the thing is, if you have a point and you want to share it and you want to tell about it, just be confident. People will appreciate the value or the view that you're going to share rather than the words. The Some people get annoyed, I know, for people that is very pedantic about the words, but majority, as long as they understand and get the point and learn from it, they see the benefit of it. So give it a go, I would say. Initially, you know what, I'm always be on the same situation, but one day I met this thing in Tech Ed 2012. I went to Tech Ed Australia and I met an Azure MVP. He's from subcontinental as well, so he's not English speaker as a first language. And I met him, I have a chat with him, and then he encouraged me. You know what? You see my presentation is, because I really appreciate his presentation. I learned a lot from him, and I talked to him, and he said, you know what? You learn from me. I don't have perfect English just like yourself. You can do something like this, like me. That's what he said to me. So that's encouraged me.
That's so good. That's so good. It's good to hear that like one conversation at one time can have a massive impact if it said at the right time, and to encourage you to move forward.
Sure, that's really it.
Mate, it's been very good talking to you. Before you go, I like to ask a few wacky questions, if you like, or what I call my end questions wrap up. And so it's interesting. I've finally started getting a bit of commentary online about some of the end questions. So I'm going to ask you the one that has got commentary recently, which is, what's your best purchase under $100? It can't be food or drink related, or clothing. What do you got for me under $100?
Google Home.
Do you love it?
Yep.
What's the best thing about it?
I can turn on and turn off my TV with my voice, and I can play the kids songs for my daughter while I'm doing something else. So I don't need to get into the TV, press things with the remote, and then, well, that's a good thing. So I can command it, play something while I'm still washing my dishes.
Oh, so good, so good. What's your favorite app? And I'm talking about for your phone here.
Oh, for phone. Well, I use Google Maps a lot. So that's probably my favorite one. So
anything else that's a bit unique?
Well, I use that and WhatsApp probably. Not really unique. I communicate a lot with my friends and family using WhatsApp.
Is WhatsApp quite common then out of Indonesia, as in for usage?
Yes, it's very common. So WhatsApp and Line, that's very common in Indonesia.
And Line, okay. Because that's quite different than, Greater China area where, what is it?
WeChat, they use WeChat.
Yeah, WeChat, that's right. Andre, it's been great chatting with you. If people want to kind of follow what you do online, where can they find you?
They can follow me on my Twitter. So it's ANDZ_88. That's my Twitter handle. Or follow me on LinkedIn. Or just visit my blog, andz88.wordpress.com. That's where I usually put some stuff. Or if you are quite local in Australia, probably join the user group in Melbourne or Dynamics 365 Saturday in Australia.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that. Full show notes can be found at nz365guide.com/59. Please give me a rating, give me some feedback on iTunes should you get a chance. Otherwise, thanks for listening and see you next time.